Botched the way the families were told of the second explosion. At first they cheered when he told them rescuers were ready to go in. The Care Superintendent Gary Knowles stepped in to tell them about the second explosion.
Given the response I got to what I said, there wouldn't be an hour, let alone a day, that I haven't relived that.
The families believe Whittle gave them false hope that the men were alive, when realistically they would have had to barricade themselves away from the gas, find a water supply and a line which would bring them oxygen.
Got to get past all those points. That's correct, sir. And human beings are marvellous creatures, aren't we? And this does happen on occasion, albeit slim hope.
But a lawyer for the family says it was never described to them as a slim hope, and if it had been, they would have been prepared for the worst. When Superintendent Gary Knowles apologised to the families last week, there were tears and handshakes. The response towards Whittle was not as warm. No family members spoke to him, although a spokesman told reporters they accept what he had to say. Rachel Morton, 3 News.
Across the Tasman, talk Prime Minister Julia Gillard is about to be rolled as reaching fever pitch. The polls show Kevin Rudd as a shoo-in to replace her, even though he's very publicly shooting that suggestion down. The most recent poll shows only 26% of Australia would vote Labor, 48% prefer the opposition. And a whopping 57% of those polled want Rudd to lead Labor. Only 24% support Gillard. A record low even for her. 3 News Australia correspondent Samantha Hayes has been following her fortunes. Samantha.
Good evening, Hilary. Well, things are going from bad to worse for the Prime Minister. Her refugee swap deal with Malaysia looks set to be sunk for good in Parliament. And that's a problem that just won't go away, with 2 more boats arriving overnight, prompting yet another call from opposition leader Tony Abbott for Gillard that he's part of the team and that he doesn't want his old job back. But he's managed to avoid much of the drama as he's in New York addressing the United Nations General Assembly. But he did make this comment earlier today.
Let's just be very clear about this. I support the Prime Minister. I'm a member of the Cabinet. I support the decisions of, therefore, the government. And I would just think it would be a good thing if everyone seriously had a cup of tea and a Bex and a long lie down, okay?
So time to put the jug on and have a Panadol. An emphatic response from Rudd that he's not planning a move back into his old office just yet. But that hasn't stopped Abbott going to town. Of course, he's calling the government divided and directionless. Samantha, thank you.
Sarah Phillips and Mike Tyndall were giving little away about the state of their marriage today. Reunited after those YouTube pictures which showed them in the company of a mystery blonde, the pair were out and about in Dunedin. Anna Burns-Francis was among those keeping watch.
They're used to avoiding the spotlight, but in a city this small, there's no escaping reporters anxious to take the temperature of the royal. And once again, they could hardly have been more discreet. The media maintained their vigil outside, desperate for a shot of the couple together. Cafe owner Nick Dodds just as determined to protect the privacy of his customers.
Lovely people, I couldn't really, very pleasant to talk to, and taking photos of babies upstairs, and they had a nice antipasto for lunch and a couple of glasses of wine for the ladies.
But for all the public attention today, there was no obvious show of affection for the cameras.
Now, you wouldn't want one of those hurtling towards you at 240 miles an hour. NASA reassures us that in 50 years of space travel, no one has ever been hurt by falling debris. But cosmic junk is no rocket science. It's a case of watch this space.
One of the pillars of Einstein's physics appears to have been disproved. According to E=mc², nothing can travel faster than the speed of light in a vacuum. But now scientists in Europe say something has. Albert Einstein developed his theory of relativity in 1905, and it set the maximum cosmic speed limit. That something called a neutrino particle has travelled down a tunnel 16 nanoseconds faster, and that makes time travel a real possibility. Scientists have several theories to explain the discovery, including the possibility they've somehow got it wrong.
Still to come on 3 News. Down, down, down. Fear sweeps global markets as the spectre looms of a double-dip recession. And the arm wrestle.
No one really understands. Or do the right thing and join the warehouse great TV take-back. Just bring your own set to any of these participating warehouse stores and we'll recycle it for free. You also got the draw to win one of 10 Spiel TVs.
your purchase. Don't waste it. Join the great TV takeback. Only at the warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain.
This is what we're being bombarded with every day. Chemtrails like this. You want your children to be subjected to this every day? Breathing heavy metals? What sort of air do you want your children and grandchildren to breathe? What do you want to leave for them?
Are you scholars out there that are coming to teach the Chemtrail? You've got to be
A
joking.
young man suddenly violently ill. We speak to the hospital that turned away this meningitis victim. And made it at 50.
We were told that it was absolutely impossible.
60 Minutes, Sunday on 3. Welcome back. New Zealand dollar is plunged against the US after investors fled because of New Zealand's high debt levels. It's part of a wave of fear that's gripping the world's financial markets, and the head of the World Bank says his hopes of avoiding a double-dip recession are fading every day inside the checkbook.
A plunging Kiwi means the Greenback goes further for rugby fans.
And even helps. I mean, it's good for us out here, I suppose.
Our dollar drops 4% as global investors look for safe havens. And New Zealand's high private debt levels are not attractive.
While we're feeling seaweedy, I think we're sailing on is getting much rougher. So anyone who's got a bit of debt is seen as a higher risk than they used to be.
English is at the Washington meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and the mood is glum.
The world is in a danger zone. In 2008, many people said they did not see the turbulence coming. Leaders had no such excuse now.
It's the political dithering over solving Greece's and other countries' debt problems that's turning uncertainty to fear on global markets, sparking the biggest falls in 2 years.
So much of sunscreen is psychological. It's always been psychological. There is no feel-good factor. People are nervous, uncomfortable, and I quite frankly think fed up.
And it's not just stocks and dollars.
We've found gold price falling as well, copper prices are falling, so it's just getting me out, and I want to be in American dollars, and I want to be somewhere where it's safe. Now it's incredibly debatable if that's safe, so that's the attitude at the moment.
Record dairy payouts and good returns on forestry products are keeping New Zealand going.
Stand up and
Economic
count.
hopes still rest on the Christchurch rebuild.
That will provide not just a significant boost to the economy, but also a significant boost to sentiment and confidence, not just to Christchurch people, but to the rest of the country as well.
But it's not enough to insulate New Zealand. Should there be a game-changing event like Greece going bankrupt, then the economic turmoil in the Mediterranean will ripple all the way across to the Pacific. Simon Shepherd, 3 News.
The Alliance Group is proposing to close its Sockburn plant at Christchurch with the loss of up to 250 jobs. The company says the plant has not been profitable in recent years, and under the plan, meat processing would be transferred to other plants. Staff would be given several months to consider if they wanted to transfer.
Time now to take a look at those markets, and the dollar was down against all the currencies we monitor, sitting at under 79.5 cents now against the Aussie, and just under 80 cents against the greenback. The NZX 50 was down 30 points. Butcher Building falling 16 cents. Warehouse Group was down 6, and Freightway Limited was down by 9 cents. But Fish and Michael Healthcare rose today by 11 cents. For more on the markets, we're joined by Andrew Callagher of ASB Securities. And Andrew, what's the local market reaction been here today?
Yeah, well, Mike, I was watching the market very early this morning, and it looked pretty bad for us at that stage. The Dow Jones was down over 500 points. The New Zealand dollar was getting attacked pretty savagely, but actually we fared okay today, and the big factor was a statement issued this afternoon by the G20. Now, this was a very strongly worded statement committing to collective and bold action. It said that the banks, they would ensure that banks were adequately capitalised, and they would ensure there was enough liquidity to keep the market functioning. And this has stopped the rocket. And so some stocks have even gone up. Fish and Michael Healthcare and the Australian banks faring better today.
So what happens next?
Yeah, well, Mike, this volatility, this nervousness we're seeing in the market, this will continue until some of these words that we're seeing in these statements out of the G20 and the EU are actually put into concrete action. Also, that New Zealand dollar, now at 78 cents against the US dollar, has broken through some pretty important levels, so we may see a bit of a breather in that Kiwi dollar strength story.
Andrew, thank you.
The Cook Strait ferry, the ANNOTATIONS, is back in Wellington after a $40 million makeover in Singapore. During 5 months out of service, the ship has been given the offset of a tummy tuck. It's had a mid-drift extension, adding 30 metres to the overall length. It can now carry 600 passengers, almost double the original number.